Hello. We are going to learn about interest rates, and I'm going to be speaking rather slowly. So if you want to adjust the speed on this to 1.25 or 1.5 or 2.0, feel free to do that. Don't forget you can always rewind if something is going too fast. Interest is a very interesting concept, and in ancient times it was called usury. It was illegal in many religions and traditions, but in the era of 2025, 2026, and beyond, I imagine it is a very important topic to understand. So we're going to make a spreadsheet all about interest. If you are doing this for a class, you may have already opened the spreadsheet. I'm going to be using Google Sheets 2025 version. I'm going to close these little table on the side here, and I'm going to name this sheet. If you already have a name on there, that's fine. I'm just going to call it Mr. W Interest. And if you've already opened it by going into Google Classroom or something, that's fine. If you're using Excel, that's fine as well. So what we're talking about is how much interest is charged on something. So first we'll start with the amount of money that's created. So when you create a debt, you're creating money, or I should say you're creating credit and debt at exactly the same time. You get the debt, and then of course you use the credit as money to pay whatever it is that you want to pay for. So let's say it's $300, and I'm going to like zoom this up in my percentages here so that it's easier to see. So I'm going to go to zoom 200. If you want to go to zoom 200, that's fine. You don't have to. But this way, I think it'll be easier to see. Actually, I'm going to go to 150. I think that'll be enough. So then we have our, let's make that column just a little bit wider. So between column A, if you click on the A, and column B, when you click on the B, there is a little line that separates the A box from the B box. And we're going to just stretch this over a little bit so we can see credit and debt a little bit. Another way to do that is to put your mouse on top. You'll see the mouse changes into this weird, instead of being an arrow, like a pointy finger or an arrow or a hand, it becomes this like left-right arrow. If you double click on that, it will narrow the columns down. You'll notice for credit and debt, I wrote that on line 3, and I wrote the $300 on line 4. And to be precise, I put this into cell A3 and cell A4. Now, oddly, it's not showing. Let me go to View and see if there's a show for formula bar. So I'm going to show the formula bar. You might already have the formula bar showing. If you go check under View Show, you'll be able to see whether you have the formula bar. So it's showing that right now my focus, the focus of the computer, I should say, is on cell A3. You always read the letter first, then the number. And it's credit and debt that's in there. Okay. So right next to that in cell B3, we're writing interest. And let's say the interest rate is a low, let's try an interesting number, 7% interest. Okay. This is not necessarily realistic for like a credit card, but it might be realistic for certain types of debt or loans. Okay, now if we multiply that across, let's say this is an annual interest rate. So let's change the interest to annual interest rate. There. And then let's, again, double click, this time between the B and the C. annual interest rate, 7%. Um, so interest after 1 year, interest after 1 year, and again we can double click between the C and the D, and we're just going to multiply across here. So the way we multiply on a spreadsheet, we start with the equal sign. It's near the backspace key, and then sometimes it will come up with the multiplication already. It'll multiply the 2 from the left, and that's exactly what we want. So if it already comes up with A4 times B4, then you're really all set. You can just press the enter key. But if not, click on A4, then press the time sign, which is on the 8 key, and then click on B4, and then press enter. So you'll see that a 7% interest rate, it's $21 per year, okay? All right, so now let's talk about a larger amount, all right? So instead of $300, let's say it's more like for a car where someone would want to make $5,000 in credit and debt at the same time with the help of the bank, of course. And let's say it's a 9% interest rate, okay? So in cell A5, we've typed 5,000. In cell B5, we've typed 9%. And then in cell C5, equal sign. And we want that to be A5 times B5. Remember, you can pause this video at any moment to help you get your answers. Enter. So that would be $450 just in interest for 1 year. Now, of course, the way it works with things like car payments and all sorts of payments like this is that you are going to pay every month. So let's start some new columns. Let's say month. And let's see, your payment. And the interest. And the principal. Principal. I think it's principal. I better check that. And then remaining due. Or we could call that balance. Let's call that balance. All right. And I double checked principal is spelled correctly there. Same as a principal in a school. It's spelled P-A-L at the end. All right. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to make this table for the car. All right. So we're going to start with month 1. And let's say we're willing to make a payment of $400 a month. Okay. Maybe that's all we can afford, $400 a month. Interest. So let's use this line 5 here. And we'll say the interest is 9% per year. So we want 1 month. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an equal sign. We're going to take our $5,000. We're going to click on A5. We're going to multiply that by our 9%. And since the 9% is per year, annual means per year, we're just going to divide by 12 to get month. So our little formula here, and again, pause this if you need to, equal sign A5 times B5 divided by 12. So we've got $38 in interest. That is paid first. That money goes to the bank. And then the principal, that's what's left. So we're going to put an equal sign there. We're going to go over to 400. We're going to subtract 38. So that's B8 minus C8. Enter. So now we had $363 that comes off of our 5,000. So for balance, how much do we still owe? How much money still do we owe? So you go equal sign. Well, we originally created or borrowed or loaned $5,000. But we're going to subtract how much we paid, which is the 363. So that's equal sign A5 minus D8. When we press enter, we'll see that we still owe $4,638. Okay, so now let's go on to month 2. So month 2, we're going to again make our payment of $400. So we can type 400. We're going to again figure out how much the interest is. So we need an equal sign. How much do we owe? We owe the balance, which is 4,638. So we click on that. Then we need to multiply by our interest rate, which is 9%. And then we need to divide by 12. So go ahead and make sure you have that typed exactly. You can pause the video for a moment. And after that, press enter. So $35 in interest. I'm sure the computer is rounding, or I suspect the computer is rounding, which is fine. So how much of that goes towards the principal? We just subtract. Sorry, we need to start with the equal sign. We're going to take B9, and we're going to subtract the interest charge, which is $35. So we paid $365 towards the principal. So that brings down how much we owe. So that is, we're going to click equal, then we're going to click above. This is how much we owe right now before we made our payment. Then we're going to subtract our principal amount. That's how much we paid towards our interest. Press enter. So we still owe $4,272, even though we've paid $800 already. Notice that some of the money went to the interest. We have 9% interest that we are paying to the bank or credit union for the 5,000 that we created with the help of the bank or credit union. Okay, month 3. Again, we make our payment that we're supposed to make. We're supposed to make a $400 payment, or we've decided we're going to make a $400 payment, whatever that happens to be. And we're going to do the exact same thing as before. So equal sign. And you know, we can, using the power of the spreadsheet, we can do some copy paste stuff. And so let's do this. We're going to click to the left on the 400. We're going to do a multiply with our 9%. Now you'll notice it says B5, and we've had that for the previous 3 times. If we put a $sign between the B and the 5, then the 5 will never change. No matter what we do, like if we copy this formula and paste it somewhere else, it'll stay the same. So click your mouse right between the B and the 5 and put a $sign. It's on the 4. You need to hold shift and then the 4. And put the $sign right there. So if you were typing this, it would be B10 times B $sign 5. Then press enter. It shows $36, and I'm curious why it's showing 36 when this one showed 38. Oh, I know. It's because I did that wrong. We need to look over here at the balance, not the 400. So let's fix this. So double click on that. Yeah, that was totally my fault there. So we don't want to be multiplying by the $400. That's not what we're paying interest on. We're paying interest on the $4,272 that we still owe. So instead of B10, we need to have E9 there, E9. So type in E9 instead of B10. So I typed that right over the B10. And now this looks right. You'll notice that this is going to be highlighted. This is going to be highlighted. And then we need to divide by 12 because we're talking about a month. Okay. So if you need to pause this, go ahead. It's equal sign E9 times B $sign 5 slash 12. And that makes sense, $32. Okay. Now if you want to see your formula in the box, you just double click on that cell and it'll show you the formula. It's also going to show you the formula up top, right up here in your formula or your FX bar. Okay. It's going to even tell you we're looking at cell C7, C10, sorry. Okay, so $32, that's subtracted out of our 400. So what's that leave? So we do an equal sign, 400, minus sign, sorry, not 400, B10, minus C10, enter. That gives us $368 that we're actually paying towards our loan, not interest. Notice these two add up to 400. And now we're going to subtract that. So we're going to do equal sign. We owed 4,272. We're subtracting what we paid towards that. That's called the principal payment. And that's $368. But it's D10, okay? Because that's probably rounded down to the nearest dollar. So you'll notice we paid so far $1,200 and we still owe $3,904. All right, so here's where a little bit of spreadsheet magic happens. First of all, instead of writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or something over here, we're going to see if we can get this spreadsheet to just continue it for us. So click on cell A8 and then drag your mouse down so that these three turn blue or are highlighted somehow. You should see a little tiny blue dot appear in the corner, and when you push your mouse on top of that blue dot, it's going to like change into a plus sign. Now pull that down and let go and see if it numbers for you. It should number for you. Now try that again. So select like the last three. You'll notice I scrolled up a little bit there, sorry. And go ahead and pull that down so you have at least 12 months, 12 months. One more. All right, now for the payment, we can do the same thing. I mean, we've been making $400 $100 payments. We only need to select one of these because they're exactly the same. So if you just click the bottom 400 and then you grab the little circle and pull down like this, it'll just fill this with all 400s. I mean, if you really want to type in all those 400s, that's fine, but just rewind and watch and then you can see what to do. So same thing here. We're in cell C10. We're just going to grab that little circle, pull it down. You'll notice something stopped working. That's okay. We're going to do the same thing with D10. And then we're going to do the same thing with E10. Now, let's consider this just for a second. There's a shorter way to do this. So I'm going to click on the undo button. I'm going to undo 1, 2, 3. Now let me show you the different way to do it. Actually, I can undo 4 times. Since it is B10 all the way over to E10 that I want repeated, we can just highlight those 4 and then drag our mouse down like this and let go. Now to switch to formula view so we can see all the formulas, at the lower left-hand side of your keyboard, there should be a CTRL control button. When you hold that down, and then above the tab key, there's like a little squiggle and a little accent mark. If you tap on that, it'll show you all your formulas. So again, that's the CTRL button at the lower left. That's called the control button. And then up above that, like 4 keys above that, is a little squiggle or an accent mark. And if you tap that, and you can keep holding the control key and you can go back and forth, you can see the formula. Now it looks like we are going to, we're not going to be able to fully pay off the car payment in 12 months. So let's add another month. I wonder if I don't think we can just try to stretch the 12 down because I think it'll just repeat the 12. See how it did that? You have to highlight at least 2 rows that show the pattern. So the pattern is 11, 12, or you could do 10, 11, 12. And then if you stretch that down 1 row, 13. And then I like how people are thinking about rewinding. Good. So go ahead and highlight over. Nope, that's not what I want. I want highlight. Click. And then just pull your mouse over. Don't grab the little circle. Now grab the little circle because we want to copy that formula down. Look, only $69 left. So the last payment, click the equal sign, click over here into cell B21, equal sign, click on the 69, and then enter. Equal sign E20, then enter. So that's our last payment. That would be in month 14. And actually that's not entirely right. Let's make this row go down one more time. So highlight this row 13, pull it down, boop. So we're paying our 400. There was $1 of interest, 399 goes to our principal, and we have a negative 330. So we paid 330 too much. So we're going to go over to the right. We're going to take that 330, we're going to take it away from the 400. So that would leave $70. So we need to pay $70. And when we pay our $70, one of that will go to interest, and 69 will pay off our loan, and now we're down to 0. Okay, so we got through the major section of our auto loan. Now notice we're paying a lot more than the bank would require. So normally if we had a $5,000 auto loan, the bank would only require us to pay like $300. And then it wouldn't take just like 14 months. It'd take a lot longer. So let's try that. Let's duplicate this sheet. So if you go down to sheet 1 here at the bottom, let's change that name of that. So double click on it until it looks like this. Just keep clicking on it fast. And go ahead and put 400. And then click back on the spreadsheet. So it's going to say 400. Now this little arrow here should give us a chance to duplicate. So I just clicked on this little arrow. You go up to duplicate. Go ahead and click on duplicate. It should say copy of 400. So now double click on that. Let's change it to 300. So we're going to make our payment $300 a month instead of $400 a month, because a lot of people will only be able to afford $300 a month. Let's see how long it takes to pay off this debt, this money we created with the bank or credit union. So we're now on a tab called 300. Make sure you're not on the tab called 400. It should be highlighted somehow that you're on the tab called 300. Go up to the top where it says payment. We're going to change this to 300. So instead of 400, it's going to be 300. 300. We're in cell B8 right now. Press enter. Now notice the $400 underneath didn't change. So we're going to have to do that ourselves by copying that 300 down. So click on the B8 again, grab the little circle, pull down, and pull all the way down to line for where we have month 14. And let go. And again, if yours didn't work, rewind it and try it again. All right. So we changed all these payments to 300. The interest is going to be the same because it's still 9%. Of course, the principal that we paid towards, maybe we should change this to toward principal. Maybe. Our balance is going to be going down slower. And after 14 months, we still owe $1,140. So let's copy the months. Again, you got to highlight at least 2 months so that it keeps the numbering increasing. Let's see down to 24. That would be 2 years. So I'm just grabbing the little circle and I'm moving down a little bit. It might not take 2 years to pay it off at 300 a month. Let's find out. So we're going to highlight across on line 21. On line 21, we're highlighting across from B21 over to E21, and then we're going to pull down all the way to line month 24 and let go. And it looks like at month 18, we finally paid a little bit too much. We paid $39 too much. But first, let's get rid of these other payments down here. So month 19, everything below month 19 we don't need. In fact, we can delete all of month 19, right? So let's go ahead and delete it. And now you'll notice we overpaid by $39. So we need to subtract $39 from our 300. So 39 take away 300, that would be 261. So that's how much we need to pay for that last payment. $0. So if we were paying $300 a month, it would take us 18 months. That's a year and a half. If we were paying $400 a month, that would take us just over a year. In fact, we'd pay for a year, we'd have one more full payment and one $70 payment. Okay, let's see what would happen if we were paying only $200 a month. How long would it take to pay off this debt? So we're going to click on the 300 down at the bottom, the sheet. We're going to click on the little arrow. We're going to duplicate this sheet. It says copy of 300 down here, but we're going to change it to 200. 200. And then after we click on our spreadsheet, we're going to go to that first payment in cell B8. We're going to change that to 200. Now when we do that, it should automatically change all the other ones. Oh, it didn't though. Okay, so let's stretch it all the way down. Oh, I know a way we can do this automatically though. Here, let's do this. Click in cell B9, B9. Now after you clicked in cell B9, put an equal sign. And this is a pretty cool trick. Now click right above that on cell B8, and it should say equal sign B8. Then press enter. You'll see it copied the value, the 200. Now we want to click on cell B9 that has that little formula, equal sign B8. We're going to grab our little circle in the corner, our copy circle. We're going to pull down all the way down to line 18, and we're going to let go. And it should have brought the 200 all the way down like that. Uh-oh, we still owe $1,881 after 18 months. We need more months. So let's click on 17, pull down to 18, month 18 is what I should have said. And then grab your little circle. Let's see, another year would be 36 months. No, 24. Let's get at least 36 months on here, okay? I'm down to 32. You can just keep on kind of scrolling down until you get 36 months. Whew, that's a long time. 3 years is a long time to be paying something. I mean, it's long enough to be paying for a year and a half. Okay, now we're going to highlight on row 25. We're going to highlight B25. So we click on B25 and then we stretch over while holding our mouse key down to E25. And then we're going to pull down from this corner all the way down to 36. And you'll see at $200 a month, we end up paying it off on month 28. Month 28. So let's, we don't need all these extra payments here because we already paid it off, right? We paid too much, that's why it's a negative sign there. So let's get rid of everything line 29 and below, or month 29 and below, line 36 and below. So just highlight that. You can highlight just by clicking and holding, pulling over to the right, letting go, press backspace. And then we need to subtract $42. So that would be $158 we need to pay for our last payment. That's if we were making $200 a month payment. All right, that is about 35 minutes. That's a good start on understanding interest. And again, what we were doing was we were starting with $5,000 that was borrowed. And at a 9% interest rate, which is quite a low interest rate, paying $450 of interest per year, basically. And that's where we're at. All right, thank you very much for watching. If you had any questions, Please make sure to rewind, double check, and see that you've got it perfect.